Hello, my name's Tim Grant. I'm the director here at Lifecycles and we're the owners and developers of PIQET, the Packaging Impact Quick Evaluation Tool. And it's a streamlined lifecycle assessment tool for packaging designers, packaging technologists, packaging developers to use to create better packaging for the future. PIQET addresses the policy environment that they're operating in, consumer demands for sustainable, functional packaging, and the overall sustainability strategies that organisations are wanting to implement moving forward. PIQET uses a lifecycle assessment methodology. Lifecycle assessment is where we look from cradle to grave across the whole lifecycle production stages up and down the supply chain. It includes material production, transport logistics, manufacturing, filling, product loss, the movement through the wholesale and retail supply chain, and ultimately how the packaging interacts with the consumer and what happens once the consumer is finished with that packaging, where it might go in terms of disposal impacts. PIQET is used extensively all around the world by companies in pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, food and beverage, electronics, all sorts of different sectors. PIQET is used for different types of applications. Sometimes it's used just to explore design options, material choices, how end-of-life management might affect the design of packaging. In the new PIQET 5, we'll be able to address issues of being able to do a peer-reviewed lifecycle report. We can look at organisational packaging footprinting. We could also look at how we trace things like material certification and more complex end-of-life options that are becoming possible and necessary in the development of the circular economy. So let's have a look at what PIQET can actually do. Here we are at the dashboard of PIQET. We've got our projects, we've got our personal achievements, which we'll list down there. And let's actually create a package. So I'm going to create a simple package about a box that maybe a simple box that wraps around a reusable cup that I picked up this morning. Okay, so I'm going to add a new package, add a new project. A project in PIQET is where we build our different design scenarios. Okay, the project's going to be cup box project, and we'll share it with everyone, and it will be we'll be in the United Kingdom, and that will be the default region, and I can then just press save. Okay, so one of the first things we're really going to notice when you come into PIQET 5, if you've been using PIQET 4 in the past, is in PIQET 4 we had a long list in the left-hand sidebar of all the product life stages. Whether you were using them or not, they were all listed there. In the new PIQET, as you first come into your project settings, you set the scope of your study. And so by scope, what I'm really referring to here is, what are you including? Are you including wholesale, retail? Are we including end of life at the different levels of packaging, retail, consumer, traded pack, pallet, those sorts of things. So we have, you can customize the scope to exactly what you want, or you can use some presets that we have. Okay, we have a simple package, simple retail package and end of life. We have a full retail package and supply chain, or a full product LCA. But again, you can customize exactly the scope you need. Having done that, it then simplifies the rest of the process because the sidebar will only contain the things that you're using in your PIQET project. Okay, so in this project, I'm going to set it to be a simple retail package. Press save. And now when we go out and we add our first scenario, we can see that we only have 4 sections, 3 configuration and 3 life cycle stages: materials, conversion and end of life. All the things that we're not using have been removed from there. So let's add a packaging material. We have a few new things in this area, and of course this is the heart of PIQET, building packaging materials and conversion processes. So the first package that we're going to create is a box, paperboard box. This is a very simple package. So paperboard bleached, it's in the United Kingdom. Let's say it weighs 12 grams. It has 80% recycled content. And we have this new area of certification. So we can say the material has been carbon offset or certified carbon neutral. Does it have an FSC certification? Or we have actually a free certification option there, which you can align to whatever other certification you'd like to track throughout your supply chain. And then we add the conversion process, box fold and print, and click add, and then we can press save. Okay, so in the packaging end of life, we've now moved the automated end of life data into this end of life section rather than having it hidden in the retail or consumer sections. So you can actually see explicitly what assumptions PK is making about end of life. We constantly update that end of life data. We've added new end of life destinations, open and closed loop recycling, chemical recycling, and gasification. Okay, having modelled our project, we then can go and look at some new features in the reporting section. Okay, so one of the new features that we've got in PK5 is the ability to have advanced reporting. And this will include reporting against ISO 14044, the International Standard on Life Cycle Assessment. The main driver behind this is really then to be able to have an assessment where you can make public claims about the results that you're getting out of PK after getting them independently reviewed. To do this, we've added a bunch of additional reporting features, and so if I just show you here in the interpretation section, so under reporting we have a new section called interpretation, and in interpretation we have the necessary documentation fields for including the justifications for the decisions you've made within the LCA, documenting your goal and scope. So here under goal and scope, the goal is to compare the environmental impacts of paperboard, bioplastic and mushroom-based packaging options. We have selected some impact categories and we have to provide a justification for which ones we've selected. So in this case we've selected climate change impacts due to its high policy priority, and land and water-based impacts due to the wanting to compare the different impacts of bio-based materials on the natural environment. We have some other assumptions and limitations on what's happening at the end of life, which have been documented here. We have the reason for the study, and in here we give two options: an internal decision making or for external verification. And under external verification you can actually identify who the critical reviewer of the study will be. It already knows what the organisation is, and furthermore we then come down to things like the system boundary. We currently have an option to upload a system boundary to the report, which you need to develop yourself, but to help out on that we actually have some examples of system boundaries listed here, so you can download an existing boundary and have a look at what that looks like, and produce something yourself that is sort of similar to this design. We then have what is the excluded processes, how is multi-functionality being dealt with, and a data quality assessment section. The data quality assessment provides both background information on the data quality from the PK database. So in this case we've got paperboard bleached. It gives a little bit of a process description, tells us where the data is from, a bit about the geography, the temporal scope and the technology of this process. You can then come and actually edit that data quality with some scoring. So the data is from a Finnish paper study, from a Finnish database from former Swiss packaging study. We can then come in and say, okay, we're using it based in China production, therefore we are going to production, and therefore we are going to actually score that to be fair or poor on geography.
For the timing, it's from 2019, so we're producing in 2024. So we'll say that is good because it's only less than 5 years ago. And for the technology match, we have, let's say, the data matches a similar variant. It's bleached paperboard and we're using it as bleached paperboard, so we'll say that is good. So you have this ability to actually edit your data quality and include that, which is a key feature of requirement of ISO 1444 when it relates to packaging studies. One of the other things we're very excited about is the ability to do sensitivity analysis. And so when we come down to actually generating the report, and I'll just save this documentation screen under interpretation, when we actually go to the reporting section, we might want to test, we'll get our 3 options in this LCA, a paperboard box, a mycelium box and a bioplastic box. Let's have a variant of the paperboard box that is maybe using less recycled content. So if I copy the paperboard box and call it paperboard box no recycled content, and I can save that. I'll go and edit that material and come down to the material section. Now originally the paperboard was 80% recycled content, so we'll edit that and set that to 0 and save, leave everything else the same. Now when we go down to our reporting section, under report generation, we go to produce our LCA report. We have our 3 main scenarios, paperboard box, mycelium box and bioplastic box. But we can add sensitivity analysis, and we can say in this sensitivity analysis we're going to have as a reference thing the paperboard box, and then a variation be the paperboard box with no recycled content, and maybe the second variant might be to compare, see how that compares with the mycelium box, and press save. So that means that we can actually look at our key scenarios of the 3 main packaging, but then we can have multiple scenario analysis that just does one simple comparison against some slightly modified parameters. So I'll try and just go now to actually generate that report, and this will take some minute or 2. The report has generated. So it starts with the opening page, LCA of a cut box project comparing those scenarios, has the citation, disclaimers, table of contents, a list of figures and tables. So it's a fully fledged life cycle assessment report with a lot of detail intuited out of the tool, as well as the fields that have been added and edited in by the user to make it compliant with the ISO standards. So we have a little bit of an introduction to the 4 steps of LCA, critical review considerations, the goal and scope, functional unit, so these were what were included, the system boundary that we uploaded, the justification of the system boundary, and eventually we'll get down through the documentation, the list of indicators that are included in the study, and we will get down to the actual results, list of all the materials, data that's been modelled, and we go down and eventually we'll get to the results. Here's the results section, climate change impacts for the 3 products with a graph showing you the results, so we can see that the bioplastic box is actually having the lowest impact overall for climate change. Soil carbon land use deficit, so we had land use as one of our other indicators, and we can see there this box is also having the lowest impact. Is that in total actually? It is, yes, it's the lowest impact in total. And for the water use, again, the bioplastic box is the best box. The mycelium box is the least preferable from that point of view. So we then have, we go down to find the sensitivity analysis that we included. So there's results for each of those scenarios, and the sensitivity analysis is here, where it simply says how does the paperboard box without recycled content vary from the paperboard box with the recycled content? And we can see climate change doesn't really vary very much. The land use impacts go up by 7%. The water use volume doesn't change. And compared to the mycelium box, it is compared to the original paperboard box, so we can see the variations there. So it's a really powerful feature for looking at multiple minor variations without having to have a whole separate scenario. And then ultimately we come down to the data quality assessment is documented in there, and the conclusions from the study, which are also one of the documentation fields of which you include within the LCA. So, and then we can export that to a PDF, and that can be sent to a reviewer to be reviewed.
So one change from PK4 to PK5 is what used to be called the contents module, and now we actually have them as product projects. So if you want to build a LCA of a product that you may want to include in the package or look at in its own right, it now sits as a product project, not a contents module within your existing packaging project. So in PK on your dashboard, you can actually go down and look for the product projects and edit those. And in products, we now have material ingredient inputs, manufacturing for product, and the end of life of products. So that's new. Previously, contents didn't have an end of life when you were modeling them within PK. So having modeled your product project, you then go into the packaging project, select product as product inclusion in your scope, and then you can actually add one or more products into any particular package. So if you have a package design that maybe includes multiple products, you can actually include multiple products within your packaging project and then have a complete product packaging LCA outcome from PK. On the indicator front, we have a new approach to including and aggregating indicators within PK. We have the normal coverage of the product environmental footprint indicators, global packaging protocol indicators. We then have circular economy indicators, including material circularity index, percentage recycled content, all different material related activities, and the traditional packaging indicators such as product to packaging ratio. What we have now also enabled is the ability to take indicators from all those different domains, from the circularity through to the packaging through to environmental indicators, and actually weight them in an index so that you can actually build up your own environmental decision-making index within the PK tool. We include a couple of default weightings based on the product environmental footprint from Europe, so that you can use those, or you can actually develop your own. So as you can see, PK has a wide range of features to enable you to design better packaging to address the modern day sustainability challenges. Thanks for watching the video, and we really look forward to joining you on your sustainability journey.